not gonna do? I've been to the finish line!
No, wait! Fix it! Get behind me!
One more!
I'm not through with you yet.
Off we go!
Oh, look at that, it's your little friend. Let's watch her die together, shall we?
No!
It's game over for both of you.
No. Just for me. I'm bad, and that's good. I will never be good, and that's not bad. There's no one I'd rather be than me.
Into the law. No, yes, no, yeah, no. Go into the law.
Okay, so I saw this on YouTube and I just about flipped the last thing I had left. So let's just watch this. Mm-hmm.
What is happening in Los Angeles right now is still an active emergency. So keeping people informed with factual information is a matter of public safety.
Okay, so that's fair enough with what else has been going on. X'd out, but let's just keep going, right?
Did lose water pressure. The system right now is still an active emergency. So keeping people informed with factual information is a matter of public safety. Did lose water pressure. The system simply could not handle that many fires all at once. Early Wednesday morning, Trump was already blaming California's Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom, referring to him as Gavin Newscum, and claiming that Newsom had refused to sign a document Trump called the Water Restoration Declaration that would have allegedly given LA enough water to fight the fires. No such document exists.
No such document exists. Okay.
Efforts are underway to help store all that snow and rain we've seen across California this winter.
We're soaked.
Governor Gavin Newsom is using the storm state of emergency to issue an executive order that could help capture some of the excess water and store it underground.
Oh, yeah, she's right. It wasn't the Water Restoration Declaration. It was the Water Recovery Executive Order. Oh, well, okay. Let's just keep on going.
Trump apparently made it up. For the record, the reason LA's hydrants went dry on Tuesday night had nothing to do with fish conservation or Native Americans or how many women work at the fire department. There was a real...
Okay.
The reason LA's hydrants went dry on Tuesday night had nothing to do with fish conservation or Native Americans or how many women work at the fire department.
She's right. It has nothing to do with fish or anything else. The hydrants ran dry. Whatever the reason was, the hydrants ran dry. Okay. All right. Let's talk about that for a second.
The quake also ruptures multiple gas mains that soon ignite, setting off dozens of fires. Firefighter Jerry Shannon and his crew are dispatched to Marina.
I was driving the truck, and as we crested the hill, you could see this mushroom cloud. I mean, it looked like somebody dropped an atom bomb in the marina, because all the broken gas mains, the gas ignited and eventually exploded. As soon as we pulled up, you could smell the gas. It was out in the streets.
To make matters even worse, many water mains have also burst, leaving Jerry and other firefighters with no means of putting the fires out. The city's fireboat, the Phoenix, is called for and makes its way towards the marina. A human chain is formed to carry the heavy hose the 3 blocks from the fireboat to the corner of Divisadero and Beach.
They had to carry the hoses off the trucks to the water and get the hoses on the fire truck and connect them so that they could pump seawater to stop the fire. Because if they didn't have that, the marina would have burned.
The San Francisco earthquake claimed a total of 63 lives. Throughout the night of October 17th, many people walked the narrow line between life and death.
That was the 1989 Loma Prieta earthquake. Now, this was a really nice little clip that they used because you see all these people carrying fire hoses. That's the non-existent militia of the 1989 earthquake that I keep talking about. Everybody says, I don't know what I'm talking about. Well, there they were in living color. I even remember hearing about it at the time and thinking, oh, that's a militia. So 89's, I'd have been about 15 years old at the time. So, yeah.
There was a real problem on Tuesday night. Hydrants really did run out of water. And joining me now to help us understand what we really know about what happened on Tuesday is Marty Adams, who is the former general manager of the LA Department of Water and Power.
There's honestly adequate water supply to fight any fire in the city of LA. There's enough water in storage, enough water in our aqueducts that we can fight any kind of fire. The challenge becomes getting the water from where it's stored to where the fire is. And that's what you really saw, particularly in the Palisades. And again, what we just saw the reporter talk about in Altadena, the same kind of thing. You have water systems designed to fight fires based on a structure fire or multiple structure fires, but no water system anywhere in America designed to fight an entire community on fire at once. And it basically just pulls so much water out that the system cannot keep the pressure up as it goes, and then strands our firefighters without adequate water supply and the pressure that they need and like to have to do their jobs.
Well, I guess we could say that that's been debunked. But I want to show you something else. This clip is from, I keep calling it What's Up with Shipping. You know what? A link to the original will be in the description anyway. So you want to go check it out? Go ahead.
Have the Los Angeles fireboat. You could have the Long Beach fireboat right off the coast and through a system of afloat or underwater hoses, which the military use a lot. As a matter of fact, they have some of this right over at Port Hueneme, which is just right by where this is taking place. You can be pumping large quantities of water ashore. And if you use fire trucks and large diameter hose, this is big 5 or 6 inch portable hose, you can actually lay into the interior here and provide water refilling points. This is known as relay pumping. And you don't even need the fireboats, because you can get portable pumps on trailers that can be brought up into the surf or along a dock or pier into the water, suck in the salt water and use it. Has strainers on board. This would give you a lot of water. And there are fire departments that I know that train on laying over a mile of large diameter hose. Most trucks are required to have roughly about 800 to 1,000 feet, about a fifth of a mile of that hose, fifth to a sixth of a mile on board each truck. And so you can pre-position this equipment so that you can lay in hose from the beach and set up fill points so that fire trucks can shuttle water to the fire. So that addresses...
Oh. You know, that's kind of interesting. I wonder if they could have done that in Los Angeles. Huh? What do you think? What do you think, guys?
Water to Palisades all starts what we call the Stone Canyon Reservoir. It's a large reservoir complex behind UCLA in the Bel Air area. And that water flows west out Sunset Boulevard into the Palisades and other communities. And so that's the source of all the water to that area. The San Ynez Reservoir is a terminal reservoir. It's a dead-end reservoir at the end of that line, much lower than the main reservoir. And water would be put in San Ynez Reservoir. It would help during high summer demands. It would also be there in case there was a break in the pipeline and you want to keep water in that community while the pipe repair is being made. But it's really very much little brother compared to the other reservoir that's feeding all the water. Now, San Ynez, my understanding, has been out of service for repair of the cover. There may have been a certain amount of water that could come out and help the system and have been there. But the reality is that the water flowing in the pipe reduced the pressure so much because so many demands on it that you really couldn't pump the pump stations to the higher elevations. And that's where we saw a lot of firefighters struggling for water supply. Even if there was more water available at the bottom with San Ynez Reservoir, the pump stations are still a fixed amount. And you might have had a little bit more water get up there, but by and large, as soon as more units started hooking up to the hydrants, you would have been exactly where you were in the first place. And that's with dry hydrants, basically because trying to pull so much water out of the system, so much more than what it's ever.
Okay, so I didn't clip that right, but you know what? I'm okay with that. I'd really like to talk about how the Los Angeles water system works. He said that San Ynez is down at the bottom and it can't feed water up. Well, it could have, obviously, but never mind that. So he's talking about water at the top of the system, uphill, right?
None of this would have been possible without one key element: water. But with its hot Mediterranean-style climate, that's not something the City of Angels had very much of. How it solved that problem is a murky story of power, deceit and corruption. Water engineer and former mayor of LA, Frederick Eaton. Eaton had a plan for a huge aqueduct that would draw water from the Owens River 400 kilometers away into the city and store it here in an underground aquifer in the San Fernando Valley. It would give LA more than enough water for it to become the powerhouse city he dreamed of, but there was a catch. The city of Los Angeles didn't own any of the land or water rights they needed to make the plan work. Around 1900, the Bureau of Land Reclamation was developing an irrigation system to help farmers in the Owens Valley. But Eaton had hired a spy inside the Bureau who gave him access to its plans. Using that information, Eaton stayed one step ahead of the Bureau and bought up land in the Owens Valley under the guise of wanting to start his own farm. But in reality, he was secretly handing over the water rights for his land to the city of Los Angeles. Now, let's get back to the Californian desert. By 1905, Eaton had captured enough of the water supply in the Owens Valley for his plan to work, and he publicly announced his intention to build an aqueduct, but he was far from finished. Eaton wanted to use this, the San Fernando Valley, as an aquifer to store the water coming from the aqueduct. But to do this, the valley would need to become part of LA, which would require a referendum. Eaton tipped off members of the city's elite, such as Harrison Gray Otis, the publisher of the LA Times, and told them all about the prime real estate that would be created by directing the aquifer into the valley. Otis then went and bought up land on the cheap and began championing the referendum in the press, warning of droughts and water shortages should it fail to pass. It's even alleged that Eaton dumped water from the city's reservoirs into the ocean to simulate a drought. The ploy worked, and Los Angeles annexed the San Fernando Valley.
Did you hear that? Oh, yes. You heard that. They get their water from outside of the county entirely and bring it by canal all the way into the San Fernando Valley, which is at the top of the system. That reservoir, if that reservoir really is empty at any time of the year, there is a much more serious problem than this fire. And Los Angeles can't survive anyway. Well, let's move on.
Designed to handle. We have fires in the Palisades almost every year, and they're always fought successfully. They're fought from aircraft and the surrounding hillsides, as well as by ground forces protecting the structures. And it's always been successful. There's no reason to believe that the operation currently that was there wouldn't have been successful, and the whole system's been fed normally with the reservoir out of service. But what we saw was completely different than anybody had ever seen before. We've never seen to go from house to house, block to block through your neighborhood. And that kind of fire has never been anticipated or provided for by anybody's infrastructure. The Paradise Fire, we
Okay.
never seen a community wiped out by fire.
You know, I don't know if he's lying or if he's confused or what, but he said we've never seen a city wiped away, block to house, block to block. I want to show you something. This is the city of Keswick, California, seen from a drone in the air. This is 2018. And yes, especially in this shot, you can see some houses survive. But as you can see, this entire city is gone. Less than 1% of the buildings survived. And this wasn't even the worst of it. Well, let me rephrase. This wasn't the whole of it. The fire rolled right through Keswick and two other towns, and then got into Redding. It was as far south as Centerville, California, before they finally stopped it. All right. Part of Centerville, actually, when I didn't even know Centerville had existed. I grew up in the area. I didn't know it existed until I came back for a few months. I started driving right in the middle of this fire, and I finally stopped when I got to Dad's place. The fire was actually close enough. Well, it was within a mile of Papa Carey's place when they finally arrested it. It had traveled tens of miles. It had wiped this city out. But you know, this isn't actually even the worst of it. See, this had happened a couple of years or a few years before to Fort Murno, I think it was called, Canada, where a forest fire got into the city and literally leveled the city. But you know, that's completely unprecedented. It's never happened before, right? Oh, wait a second. Wait a second. That's what happened in Oakland in 1991. Wildfire got up into those hills and just took off. And a 6-8 plus lane freeway didn't even slow it down. Now, I'm not calling the man a liar, but if he was the manager of Los Angeles Water and Power, well, I can see why he's the former manager of Los Angeles Water and Power. He's clearly incompetent. If he doesn't know about Oakland in 91, Canada in 2016, I think it was, he doesn't know about Carr fire in 2018, all right, then he's clearly incompetent and he should never have had his job. This fire was not caused by climate change. That may not have made things better, but the refusal, and I said refusal, to clear out the dead brush in those hills created the tinderbox. The refusal to refill or properly maintain, more to the point, the aquifers, which is stolen water anyway, created the dry hydrants. This isn't even one big conspiracy. This is like more like a bunch of little ones that just suddenly blew up in everybody's faces. All right. The mayor of Los Angeles cutting the budget by $17 million for no reason. It wasn't necessary. The water and power not keeping those reservoirs full, not managing that water. The city not installing or not building the desalination plants. Bare minimum, you can designate San Ynez or half a dozen others to be emergency water only, fire water, or reserve tap water. That is to say, when the reservoirs do run dry, you pull water out of these slimy, disgusting holes that were dug to hold the water, and you purify it, and then you send it on into the city for people to drink and water their lawns and all that other crap. Now, here's something else I know. Back in the late 90s, I believe it was, there was a new water war. Now, I had said that they were taking water out of the San Joaquin River. I was clearly mistaken. It was the Owens River. Okay, fine. They wanted water out of San Joaquin. Apparently, that didn't happen or something. But I do know that there was a huge drought in the 90s. And the people were told, conserve the water. And instead, they were watering their lawns. Yeah, that's great conservation there, guys. The people that created this crisis, the water and power managers who didn't keep the reservoirs full, the city council and county boards of supervisors who didn't install or didn't build the desalination plants as just that absolute emergency backup supply, the fire department that didn't set up the relay pumping. Possibly, I don't know, could it have anything at all to do with the fact that the budget was cut $17 million? Call me crazy. I don't know. Shipping actually talks in another video, and I'll put a link in the description to that as well, about how they didn't even need the fireboats. They could have just put a sea chest connected to a pipe that sticks up out of the ground. He calls it a dry pipe, and because I'm not a firefighter, I'm not quite familiar with this term, but I do know that what it does is you hook that fire engine up to the dry pipe, use the pumps in the fire engine to pump water out of the ocean, and then you relay pump it. Having the fireboats pump it just means maybe you can get a little less strain on the fire engines. Also, in that video about the relay pumping, it'll be the first link, by the way. He talks about the damage that salt water or seawater will do to the fire engines. Short version, basically, no. After a couple 100,000, or several thousand hours of pumping seawater, yeah, you're going to need to refurbish the pumps and possibly some of the related equipment. But 500,000 hours or 50,000 hours or even 5,000 hours of pumping seawater versus what did happen. I'm going to take a guess here and wonder which is the more serious threat. I know there's people that are saying, oh, if you pump seawater onto the dirt, onto the fire, it'll get into the dirt and it'll sterilize the dirt and nothing will ever grow there again. That's bullshit. That was absolute bullshit. That's where the salt came from to begin with. Salt is a mineral. It gets into the ocean because the water carries the dirt, which includes salt and gold and silver, iron, borax, all of the other things that are in dirt. Borax is not a mineral, by the way, into the ocean and dumps it there. Sooner or later, there's gold in the ocean. All right. But instead of taking the risk of maybe temporarily setting back people's nice green lawns for a few years, possibly, they decided that they would rather have houses burned to the ground with plastics and paints and gasolines and all of the other really nasty chemicals that not only leached into the ground but up into the air and killed all the birdies and will eventually leach into the ocean and kill all the fishies the same way the salt leaches eventually into the ocean. So, Alex Wagner, your snide, condescending remark at the start of that story about without politics, yeah, the only one playing political games here is you, bitch. And you know what? At that level of playing politics, it's murder. You're a murderer. Congratulations. To this what the hell was his name? Former water and power manager. Marty Adams. If you really believe the shit you said, well, congratulations. I'm just a bosun's mate, and a third class bosun's mate at that. And I know your job better than you do with your fucking university degree. All I have is an Associate of Art and History, right? That and a pack of gum will get me absolutely fucking nothing. I can't even get coffee for 50 cents anymore, so there you go. And I know your job better than you clearly did. Apparently, I also know the mayor's job better than she did. Installing those dry pumps, $50,000. Put in 100 of them. Okay, well, that's like $5 million. I get it. That's expensive. How much was the damage to the city? We're talking billions of dollars. At this point, just in cleanup, it's going to be, last estimate, it's $5 billion. A billion with a B. Not an M, a B. It gets worse and worse and worse. It's not getting better. I don't know how else to explain this. You fucked up. And no one person did it all. Gavin Newsom by himself did not do all of this. Right? He made the decision to divert water for smelt, for a fish that really needed to be dumped into those reservoirs. Yeah, I did say that part. It's stolen water, but it still needed to be in the reservoirs. The managers needed to better manage that water resource and fight to get those reservoirs refilled. Make a public stink about the fact that our reservoirs are low and we need more water in the event of an emergency. But they didn't do that either. It's worse. If you can believe that, it's worse. There have been more fires. All right. When I left Los Angeles, there was really just basically two fires, Palisades and Eaton. There was two others that were going on, but they were under control. They were going to be out within the end of the week. Now, there's been 3 more fires. The Los Angeles complex fires, as of the information I have this morning, is on track to exceed Paradise fire for total dead. It's already at 50, plus another 30 unaccounted for. Maybe they'll be accounted for later. We don't know yet. But 50 dead, and that's just the ones we currently know about. I have always said that there was at least 100 killed in Paradise during the campfire. One of them being a friend of mine from grade school. Right. Here's the thing. Her body has never been identified. She's never been listed as one of the dead of Paradise. Did she decide to walk away from her life? Probably not, because she was a drug addict. She was in recovery, but she was a drug addict. If she walked away from her life, she'd be a drug addict again, and she'd be dead by now. In all probability, she'd be a dead junkie. No, she died in the fire, and her body was completely immolated to the point where they can't even identify that there was human remains there anymore. Me and Papa Carey went through Paradise not long after the fire, and we saw what looked to us like it had been an interstate battery store before the fire. It was so completely burned that the only reason we say that it was an interstate battery store is that there was just enough of some of the batteries still at the back of the shop, that you can see that the green, that very distinctive green that Interstate uses on their products. I think that's a patented or copywritten, trademarked, something like, well, probably trademarked color. That's all that was left of that building. You couldn't even really identify that they were batteries. All I could really do was identify that they were roughly car battery sized objects. The metal in the batteries, a lot of them had melted, but some of those batteries, just enough of that plastic remained that I could see that they had been that distinctive green color. If the fire was hot enough to melt metal like that, imagine what it would do to a human body. So yeah, Los Angeles has almost guaranteed to exceed Paradise in official body count. Unofficial, hard to tell. That'll never be able to tell. I would love to see Grandmaster Jay declare Los Angeles the most racist city in California. That'll really fucking amuse me. What else is it going to take for you to realize, or what else is it going to take for you to finally come out and say, we were wrong? Tell me. Maybe I'll even just go to prison by making it happen, so you finally have to face the fact that you were wrong, you were never right, and people died. Keep calm and mandatory carry on.
The gun has played a critical role in history, an invention which has been praised and denounced, served hero and villain alike, and carries with it moral responsibility. To understand the gun is to better understand history.